That's the president talking tough.
Well, it's a pleasure for me. It's good to hear. It's good to hear, but it's better to actually see. You ask me as an individual, I still have the attitude of let's just keep our fingers
crossed.
Let's keep our fingers crossed and watch.
But taking the first step, making pronouncement.
No, the first step, if you're talking about the first step, this is not even the first step.
Okay.
The first step, of course, he has realized is a very faulty one. And that was very, very wrong. And
you're talking about with the cabinet.
That's really plunged us into very deep economic crisis in the country already. So at this moment, after taking us to the abyss, you are now telling us how you want to take us out. It's okay. Nigerians, as it stands now, it appears like there is nowhere else to go. We are resigned to fate, as it were. And then we can only hope that things get better.
Is it totally hopeless?
That's why we're hoping now.
The 8-point agenda, I hope we see them in detail.
I'm not sure that... See, I would have loved a situation where all of this would have we have done it systematically.
I say in 3 years, it must be, the first phase must be realized.
Yeah, you don't get... I don't have a problem with the whether how many points agenda. It doesn't matter to me. Nigeria, we have seen a lot of agendas.
You sound very pessimistic.
Except you're not in this country. If you have been here and you have been enjoying what has happened in the last how many years, there were 16 years. After 16 years, we had another 8 years, and that plunged us deeper and deeper into terrible times. And then here, we are now, as it were, at the very rock bottom. I don't know whether we'll go below this.
Well, coming out of the doldrum, coming out of the woods, can only be made possible by a Nigerian. And this is a Nigerian making promises.
Yes, but the spirits are low.
Okay.
The spirits are low.
Were you expecting a Deus ex machina to drop from heaven to salvage us?
No, what I mean is, if only all of this were coming without the first faulty step that actually deepened or made the crisis worse, or matters worse, fine, one would have, of course, at every time, only hope keeps us alive. So at every time there's a change of government, there's a change of leadership, there's usually this hope that things are going to get better. But when somebody steps on the podium and then the very first thing that you hear takes you back how many years, destroys everything that you were probably hoping for, it doesn't give you any confidence at any point in time to begin to say, oh, things will now get better. After you have destroyed me, what else? So, but when you don't have anything else to do or anything else to say, well, you just say, okay.
Is it repairable? Is it irreparable? Now, we've looked at some of the steps he took. They seem to be very faulty. For example, the central bank reform, the fiscal or financial reforms, they talked about removing the parallel market, and we're not seeing any removal. Does that inform? Is that a background that seems to inform this pessimism that you're expressing this evening? Apart from the fuel subsidy removal, I recall Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala, Dr. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala, came to Nigeria to applaud the president. Yes, did she? She did. She applauded the president. She talked about the fuel subsidy removal, that it will only take Nigeria back a little bit. It was some level of sacrifice that Nigerians have to make, and that she was already seeing signs of a rebate if Nigerians could endure the punishment, as it were, from some of these pronouncements. Now, the president has made further steps and has taken certain actions. We've seen the slow pace of his activities in terms of selection of ministers, and now he has. And the whole, will I say, controversy surrounding the ministerial appointments, some being seen as U-coppers and all that. And these are the same ministers he's telling. Don't make me laugh. So all this put together, I hope, don't seem to drive you to this extreme pessimism.
I'm not sure I'm extreme. I'm at the extreme yet, but
because you're totally,
totally
relaxed. As
it really killed my spirit. I mean, he has not done anything to lift me.
Okay, what are you expecting?
That is me.
Okay, what are you expecting?
And
you're expecting nothing.
No, at the moment, for me to begin to expect something.
As a journalist, you set agenda. Can you set an agenda now?
For who?
Set agenda for what you think the president should have done, which you think he hasn't done, by telling us about his 8-point agenda, telling us about ministers bracing up for the next 3 years, and what have you.
My worry here is this. Mm-hmm. It is not just about the president. We should have a National Assembly that will act as a check on the president. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, that's not even what we are seeing. Because a lot of the faulty things that we're seeing here, ordinarily, if you have an assembly that is worth its salt, some of them could have been detected quite early and dealt with decisively.
For
example, you mentioned the issue of NYSC members serving as ministers. Crying out loud, they went through this entire screening process. And what happened? Take a bow and go. Everybody's a minister. Now, so when you have a people who, a setup where it looks like, everything is, they have just, nobody is out there to actually stand up for the people, or nobody is actually there to ask the critical questions, to really stand up to it, say we are here for a purpose, and that purpose is for the benefit of the Nigerian people. If you don't have a situation like that, it doesn't inspire hope. And that's, for me, my own worry. Otherwise, if you have a presidency or you're an executive, and then you have the executive there, the legislature there, you want to, and the legislature is up and doing, they truly representative of the people, then you don't really have to worry much. But when you find a setup that appears like, everybody is already, I don't know whether to say compromised.
So, what you're trying to say here is that there's a failure ab initio.
That's the way it appears to me.
And that the end is not going to be anything.
No. The end can be anything. I have not foreclosed anything.
Okay.
No. But I say at the moment, my spirit is low, and I will yet want to see before believing.
Okay.
For the ears, yes, these things sound good to the ears.
No, I think by and large, the president has set up his agenda. You cannot achieve anything. No action can be realized without a plan. And every plan must have that sustainable element in it. And these are plans. 8-point agenda, and it's talking about having the plan realized in the first 3 years, and is giving the ministers a charge. That's the most important thing.